Now, chapter 6, which is all about the digital divide. What is it all about? Well, briefly, let me explain it. It simply means that geographically, socially, okay, from industrial employment point of view, all those communities, people who have the opportunity of getting access to digital resources and those who do not have the access of these digital resources. Now we'll be discussing all this. What difference does it make? So we are talking about all those demographic groups, particularly sections of the population, okay, and obviously the economic areas. Okay, how it affects these people, their economic lives, their output, the way they can get access to better jobs, how can they get educated. So it's a digital divide. We're dividing people because of the access to all this. This is what we're discussing here. So obviously, we will be discussing that people have no access to technology, how people in rural areas are the most one who are affected by this. Okay, so we'll talk about all this in a minute. So city versus rural livings. Obviously, the infrastructure in your rural areas is not that good enough that you can have broadband. And obviously, if you don't have internet, which is broadband, you do not have the capability to have video conferencing. And obviously, if you like COVID came out to be one of the best example where the digital divide came into the most important existence, and we saw it. So all those students, for example, who are living up there in the mountains and had no access to fast internet, so they really or rural areas, they could not be part of the educational process that went for 1.5 years. Okay, so we're talking about infrastructure. We're talking about other things. Okay, apart from related to IT, such as roads, buildings, and all that. Okay, so obviously the lack of high-speed internet is one of the biggest issue. Then apart from that, we will be talking about other facilities such as the access to IT technologies. So in real life example, obviously, I just told you about the internet speed can obviously be a big disadvantage to anyone who is working online, who is doing teleworking, who's working as a freelance worker. Obviously, you will have better opportunities if you have all the technological devices apart from good broadband connection. So obviously, it will be easier for you to complete your work, show your work, present yourself in a much more proper manner. Okay. Now, how can we actually reduce the digital divide in rural areas, especially? Obviously, this is a very typical question that comes in chapter 6 part, where the examiner will say that directly they will ask is how government can play a role in eliminating digital divide among communities or rural areas. Obviously, there are a number of things that can come in our mind. Apart, we can obviously start by talking about technological infrastructure development should take place, and people should be provided with cheaper yet faster broadband internet connection. Why am I using the word cheaper? Because when we talk about rural areas, we're talking about people who cannot pay a lot. So we want to give them broadband, but we want to give them cheap broadband. That's one of the most important things that we should always keep in mind. Whenever you're answering questions, please make sure that it's a very good way that you write down your key points with pencil somewhere on the left-hand side. Okay. And once your main key points are there, then you can actually convert them into consecutive sentences. Because remember one thing in theory paper, once you write it down, you can't cross and come back. So it's very important that you should know how to attempt your theory paper. Are you with me, beta? It's a very important point I'm discussing with you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you have to attempt those questions which you are 100% sure about. Even then, if you're 100% sure about, you need to create a mental model for every question. Inshallah, I'll be doing that with you. I'll discuss with you, but obviously I have to discuss right now. So you have to think of the keywords, the important points. You can note them down with the pencil and you can rub them afterwards. Even if you leave them, it doesn't make a difference because in the examiner report, they have mentioned it that students can leave their key points, but you have to write them in pencil. So then you can convert them to consecutive sentences. You're not going to write in bullet points. Please never write in bullet points. You will not get advantage to it. You
Sir,
might be.
like in paragraph form?
It should always be paragraph, not in bullet points, please.
Okay.
Okay. And they always
Okay,
say
sir, it should be in paragraph.
it should be in paragraph and it should be in consecutive sentences paragraph. Now, what do I mean by
Okay.
yeah, by consecutive? What I mean is that when you're writing about one point, you should elaborate that point. I'll tell you what. For example, if you have a question that says that what input device will be used to enter data into a library system. So I would say is that the keyboard will be used. Then I have to say keyboard will be used and keyboard will be used to enter the membership details of the students into the system. Now, I am talking about the input device and I'm also elaborating that this particular input device will be used for what purpose. So you have to talk about the point and you have to talk about the purpose. Okay. So we're talking about what and
Yes,
we're
sir.
talking about why. So we'll just not talk about a point and leave it there. You have to complete it. Then you talk about the next point, which is related to the first point. Third point related to the second point. Fourth point somehow related to the previous points. This is what we mean by consecutive sentences. No repetition. You don't have to elaborate a point to such an extent that you are not talking about other points. So obviously, there's a very proper approach that has to be way. Okay, it doesn't mean that if chapter is easy, you're definitely ready for it. The way it has to be answered is one of the most important thing I will discuss with you, inshallah. Okay, so reducing the rule device, I just talked about. We can have obviously satellite technologies can be used. We can have better internet connection for them. Okay, so this is one of the real life example. Okay, a report released in that India Mobile Congress highlighted that only 16% of the people in the rural areas of India have internet access. The Indian government are looking into ways of improving the features. Obviously, um, they obviously came up with a better way. Okay, so if you are in rural areas and if you want to have a much faster way of providing the internet connection, obviously satellites is a much faster and easy way to do it. Okay, right. So technological educate versus technology uneducated. Yeah, no, this is very important. It's not that only you provide them with technological infrastructure and devices. It's very important that government, okay, play a very important role by educating communities and group of people how to use these things. If they don't know how to use MS Word, for example, how would they type their resume?
Sir, by this topic, they mean that if we educate them about, like, before giving them technology, if we educate them, that is called as educated technology. And if
Absolutely.
we don't like educate them and we just give them technology, and this will be called as uneducated technology.
Excellent, excellent. So obviously, if you are educated, and obviously if we talk about, if the question comes in that how come someone who is educated, as far as technology is concerned, will make a difference as compared to someone who's not. Obviously, we're talking about applying for jobs online. We're talking about completing some freelance work on time. We are talking about searching for different products online and comparing different websites because obviously, if you are technology enabled, you can do that. Okay. And obviously, the list goes on. You will be more educated to make a difference between what has to be downloaded, what does not. You'll be more be available or aware about e-security. You'll know about malwares, ransomwares, and all that. You will know what to download, what to not download. Otherwise, you'll be so naive that you will be downloading a Trojan horse and you will be clicking on it, and you will see my computer just got hacked by someone because you were not IT literate, you were not educated. So being educated will by not having digital divide, people will be saving themselves from hackers and different kinds of malware. This topic can go on and go on. We can discuss so many things. We can talk about um, getting medical facility online, even that could be a separate thing. We can talk about uh, um, manufacturers who
Or
want to
we can
create.
also say like in COVID, like the students have had online classes, right?
Exactly.
So in rural areas where there's no technology, so the students can't get any type of education because obviously schools were closed there and there were no teachers to
Absolutely.
go home and teach them.
Exactly. Exactly. Very good. Very good. Yes. So obviously, apart from that, we will also talk about people get the opportunity to buy products online, book tickets online, book services online, get an access to a medical expert system online. Okay. Obviously, there's a list of
Admissions.
things. Admissions, exactly. And if we just talk about job prospects, we can talk about, first of all, is that we can know that which field I can apply online, which career I have to choose, what will be the job prospects in the next 5 years, 1 decade, 2 decade. I can
So we
compare
can
and
also
compare.
have online degrees.
Exactly. Well done. Now, these are all the points that should be in our mind. Like I told you, even this chapter is not very complicated, but it's very important that we should first make sure that what we have to write. Okay. So this is again one of the example that where you have to had to book tickets online. This was one of the example. Okay. So obviously because of bad internet connection, you will not be able to book tickets online. Reducing digital divide, we just talked about it, that we have to train people, we have to offer them hardware and software at a minimum cost with subsidy so that we can give these communities, these people more of these.
We can all the government can also offer them workshops on computer functioning.
Exactly, exactly. That's a very valid point that one should be mentioning. So more often you should be having these workshops where we can educate these people. Okay, right. So yeah, I mean, I can read one for you. Obviously, there are lots of examples, and I'm generally discussing with you. Pakistan are offering 12-week course to its citizens for learning skills in everyday software. The course is provided in the collaboration virtual university. Yes, the course will provide people with basic knowledge of everyday software and also better understanding using internet for communication. The education will provide Pakistan citizens with a basic education in the use of technology and allow them to feel more comfortable and confident in their skills. The country believes that this will help its people to be more competitive and in advancing digital world. So yeah,
So
virtual
they can introduce IT as a subject in schools.
absolutely, absolutely. That should be a separate thing, exactly. Right? Older people versus younger people. Now that's another thing. We have people who are about 50 years old and they have not been using IT. So these people are more reluctant to get into technology. So this is the reason why you might have noticed that older people are more vulnerable to ransomware, to smishing, to phishing, to wishing. You get the point. So these banks and all that, obviously they keep on telling that whoever, whatever age you are in, please be careful about these things because older people will not look at the URL. They will not get into those tiny points. Okay, because obviously, if you're not educated, you will be naive and you will not know what you're doing wrong. So yes, this is why we're talking about, again, that's a digital divide. It's a digital divide between older people and younger people. Younger people tend to be more tech savvy and they tend to know a lot more about technology. Obviously, it's a norm for them. But for older people, it's not a norm. Okay. So again, this also creates digital divide between age groups, just not between communities. Okay. I hope you can
Yes, sir.
add. I hope you can add more to it. There could be more points that could come into your mind. All points are not there in the book. Maybe there are more points that you can think of. Like I said, when we solve the past papers,
Sir?
I'll discuss with you. Yes, beta.
सर डिजिटल डिवाइड मतलब हम इसको इस एस्पेक्ट में भी ले सकते हैं ना, लाइक इफ वी लुक एट लाइक सम very emerging countries like जिन्होंने robots वगैरह and like
Mm-hmm.
there's a country who just created sun. So sir,
Exactly. Exactly.
like उन countries और पाकिस्तान के दरमियान भी तो डिजिटल डिवाइड है,
जी बिल्कुल।
तो सर हम इसको इस एस्पेक्ट में भी लिख सकते हैं।
बिल्कुल आप लिख सकते हो। इट्स वेरी सिंपल। मैंने इसलिए आपको कहा कि नॉट एवरीथिंग इज मेंशन्ड हियर इन द रिसोर्स बुक। देयर कुड बी सो मेनी पॉइंट्स दैट यू कुड थिंक ऑफ which are related to IT and which are dividing any sort of uh, division between anyone. We can talk about that. Not communities, not age group, not people, whatever. And we'll talk about that. They have simply mentioned with us them some practical examples, but obviously there are lots of more that you can think of. Okay, so obviously we're talking about is arranging a meeting with a friend for lunch. So obviously when you have online booking things available, you have lots of apps available. One of the biggest advantage of all this is that we have more opportunities. Talk about e-commerce, talk about e-banking, talk about different methods of payment that you can do through banks. Okay, so you can even talk about Bitcoin. You can talk about cryptocurrency. Okay, why cryptocurrency? I'm talking about it because uh, through cryptocurrency you can also pay online. I mean, there are lots of things that we could talk about. Okay, right? Maybe the question comes in that how digital divide is created between countries who have the access to e-commerce and who do not have an access to e-commerce. Okay, so we'll talk about people who older people want to order online. They don't want to travel. People who are disabled, they don't want to. I mean, obviously they
So
don't
what
want
is
to because
e-commerce?
e-commerce when you buy things online, like Daraz, like Amazon, when you buy things online,
Okay.
that's
Okay.
e-commerce. When you sit home and you electronically conduct commerce, you
Okay.
order something and you get it. And obviously then this is a separate topic where you talk about that what are the disadvantages of e-commerce. That's a separate thing, I'm not discussing that, वो उसमें नहीं आएगा, मगर उसमें obviously होता है कि whenever you order thing online they are not exactly the same what you wanted. Uh, Physically having a look at something is better, but obviously there are lots of advantages of e-commerce. People who are disabled की मैं बात कर रहा था, that's one of the most important point that CI will always encourage you. Okay, disabled people have a big advantage to e-commerce because they can't travel, they don't want to travel, they want to get things at their doorstep. Okay, so you save time, you save fuel, you can do other things at the same time. You can compare and contrast different goods, different websites, and then order things. So obviously where there's an advantage, obviously there is a disadvantage. This is where evaluation comes in. Evaluation means that you have to tell what do you think it's right or wrong, and you give the verdict, and the verdict is conclusion. You tell what do you think it's right or wrong. Okay. So how do we reduce between distributed younger people? Obviously the same thing. We need to train them as much as we can
Hello.
do. Yes, you can hear me, right? Can you hear me?
Ji, sir, your
Ji.
voice is lagging. It's not
Oh,
very clear.
and now you can hear me?
Yes, sir. Sir, it
Okay.
stops in between.
Okay. That's why I'm recording. I'll share with you as well. Okay. So again, the
Yeah,
same. I mean,
okay.
the same thing. Real life older people, more industrially developed areas. Okay, we're talking about this virtual. So obviously, if you as far as industries are concerned, when you have technology, so we can talk about industries. Okay.
So we can also take this and as an aspect of business, like
Yes.
the
Yes.
ERP machine in business.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
So we can use that machine to like carry out the entire work of business, which can help
Mhm.
the economies to grow a lot.
Very good. Very good point. Exactly. So by studying business, now you have more points in your mind. That's a good thing. So you can mention all these points. Okay. So obviously, when we talk about industries, we're talking about employees. We're talking about over here. They're told they've just mentioned that we can actually train these people, right? So, the same things. Different social economic groups, which actually means same thing, same thing. Reducing digital divide in social economic groups. So we can give them hotspots, we can give them Wi-Fi connection, different places. Okay. We can give one laptop per child initiative, which was done in Africa. Okay. So they were
So we can set router settings.
exactly. We can do that. Okay. The initiative has been running since 2005 and continues to provide laptops to low-income communities around the world, including USA, Rwanda, Paraguay. So obviously, this was known as one laptop per child. So they made very simple laptop and they gave it to children around the world. This was it. Microsoft actually played a very vital role in this particular thing. So see, it was a very small chapter, but again, let me just recap. Digital divide, we were referring to individual people. Digital divide, we are referring to e-commerce. In digital divide, we are referring to how can someone get a job online. We are referring to how to get medical facility online. Okay, how to order medicine online,
Education facilities.
educational facilities. Okay, age groups, right? So I mean, whatever you can think of. I mean, like I said, it's a very generic topic, not a very lengthy topic that we have. Okay,
Yes, sir.
but obviously, again, I would repeat something is that let me just pause it because I don't want it to be redundant because I have to share with you.